The war in Abkhazia left families divided and thousands of children orphaned. Beso could have been one of them. But 15 years after the war ended, he now has two families that care for him, though neither are blood relatives. Abkhazia broke away from Georgia following a bloody civil war in the early 90s. Almost all the Georgian residents of the region were forced to flee, so how Beso managed to stay remains a mystery. He himself doesn't know what happened, maybe because of amnesia or because the memories are just too painful to recall. His new life began 2 years after the war ended, when Allah was working at a Sukhumi market.
I was standing next to our stall in the market when a boy of 7 or 8 came up to me and threw his arms around me. I asked him who he was and told him to go away, but he said, "I'm your son." He took my hand and wouldn't let go. He was shouting that he didn't want me to call the police and telling me that he'd been looking for me for a long time. He begged us to take him home.
From the day Beso arrived, it was like he'd always lived there. He immediately became one of the family, but traces of the trauma remained. When Allah attempted to speak to Beso in Georgian, his mother tongue, he became frightened and begged her to stop. Then one day, Beso suddenly realized that Allah was not his real mother.
We were on our way to visit some relatives when suddenly he told me, "You know, I was looking at you and I have made a mistake. You're not my mother." And he hit me across the face. I hugged him and promised I'd help him find his real mother.
Allah began her search in Moscow, with appeals being made as far afield as Greece and Israel. The case was even featured on a popular Russian TV show. But through an acquaintance from Sukhumi market, the trail led here to Tbilisi, the capital of Georgia. Finally, Allah thought she'd track down Beso's biological parents. Zaira has a son who resembles Beso and is about his age. While her family were attempting to flee from Sukhumi during the last days of the war, he went missing.
The bombing had started. I was in the street with my kids. The driver of a nearby car said, "Give me your children so I can take them to safety." I gave him my baby girl first, and then my son. I almost threw them to him.
Beso lived with his new family in Tbilisi for 2 years. Although he felt welcomed there, his heart remained with his adoptive mother in Sukhumi.
Your mother is not the woman who gave birth to you. She is the woman who brings you up. I feel most comfortable here. I have my adopted mother here. She loves me and I love her even more. But also I respect and love my other parents.
Although Zaira treated Beso as if he were her long-lost son, doubts remain.
I didn't tell him that I had doubts. I said, "Beso, relatives want to make sure that I really am your mother. We need to do a blood test to be 100% sure." He was worried that I would reject him if the tests were negative. But I said, "Beso, God sent you to me, and you can live with me even if you are not my biological son. But I will keep looking for my child."
Blood tests have confirmed that Zaira is not Beso's biological mother, but the pair are still close. And Beso now has loved ones on both sides of the divide in the Georgian-Abkhazian conflict.
I talk to people in both Georgia and Abkhazia. Everybody has their own opinion. But I have the impression that ordinary people in Georgia want to go back to Abkhazia without war. People want to come home in a peaceful way. I'm not a politician, but my impression is that most sides need to think in a positive way.
Beso will continue to search for his biological mother, and Zaira will never stop looking for her missing son. And though his two families are on opposing sides in the conflict, they're united by their love for him. William Dunbar, RT,